The NFL regular season is wrapping up, but there's still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. The app is so easy to use, and there are so many different ways to bet, like live same-game parlays. Find bets in the new Explore tab. Make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, the best way to find popular parlays, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/247 and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
Must be 21 plus and present in Arizona, Colorado, Connecticut, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, permitted parishes only, Massachusetts, Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, or Wyoming. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG in Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Virginia. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342 in Arizona, 1-888-789-7777, or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut, 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana, 1-800-522-4700, or visit ksgamblinghelp.com in Kansas, 1-877-770-STOP in Louisiana. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net in West Virginia, or call 1-800-522-4700 in Wyoming. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York, or visit oasas.ny.gov/gambling. Standard text messaging rates apply. Sports betting is void in Georgia, Hawaii, Utah, and other states where prohibited.
This is GoPowerCat.com publisher Tim Fitzgerald. Thank you for listening to this PowerCat podcast. Make sure you never miss an episode of the PowerCat podcast by subscribing on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, or your favorite podcast network. And if you enjoy this podcast, please consider becoming a subscriber to GoPowerCat.com. We cover the Wildcats like no one else, with our VIP customers enjoying one-of-a-kind coverage from our team of professional journalists. And sign up today for an annual subscription to GPC and grab a 30% discount on your first year. And now here's the PowerCat Podcast.
The following is a GoPowerCat.com and Spirit Street production. You've discovered your link to GoPowerCat.com's Tannahill and Spiller Powercat Podcast, presented by Fridge Wholesale Liquor, and it starts right now. Now let's go to the WTC Gig-Powered Studios. Here are your hosts, former K-State tight end Travis Tannahill and former Wildcat safety Monte Spiller.
Welcome to this week's Tannahill and Spiller podcast after an exciting Saturday from our Kansas State Wildcats. So, Monty, man, we're all eating crow.
Hey, well, yes and no. If I recall correctly, I had my doubts, and we needed a lot of things to go right. But I also said that I wasn't quite sold on Oklahoma's defense as of yet. Now, I'd be lying if I knew we would dominate up front like we did, and I was pleasantly surprised. But, yeah, we were kind of hard on the O-line last couple of weeks, about how they've kind of been the weak link of the team. But they showed up and showed out Saturday, man, and, yeah.
Yeah, man, I know I saw you before the game, so I know you were there, and I still don't believe it. I guess I'm going to wake up and they're going to be like, actually, you guys lost on a technicality. And it's just going to be like a dream. But, I mean, talk about a fun game, fun atmosphere. I mean, talk about a staple win for that Coach Kleiman staff so early. I mean, it takes people 4 years to get a win like this and knock off a top 5 opponent. And I think I think you're right. I think the K-State offensive line and the K-State defensive line were really where that game was won. I know Skyler played really well.
Oh, yeah.
His stat line was solid. But, I mean, that defensive line, especially for Kansas State, gave that Oklahoma offensive line fits. They were able to get to the quarterback, able to get to Hurts, able to put pressure on him. And then offensively for K-State, they hadn't shown – we couldn't run the ball against anybody.
Seriously.
Other than our non-conference schedule.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, you're running the ball against, a solid defensive line.
Right.
And like you said, I do think that Oklahoma defense still has some holes in it.
It does.
Which that was their Achilles heel last year. And I think up to this point, everyone wanted that defense to be good enough for them to make a run at the national championship. And after this game, they're just not quite there.
And you're right, it's not. And secondary-wise, I wasn't sold on those guys. Murray, the linebacker, number 9 for Oklahoma, he's a quality player, probably going to be playing on Sundays next year. A stud from what I watched him play. And he made some good plays Saturday, too. But a couple of things that stood out to me, our O-line did a good job of getting to the next level, and they were pushing him around. And I saw a couple of plays where he looked frustrated. His effort wasn't there like it normally is. And our guys took it to him, and they – from the coin flip to the first kickoff, even when Oklahoma scored first, they had to get there on some trickery, which, kudos to Coach Raleigh. The guy's an amazing play caller, but our guys still never showed any type of worry. They kept the game plan, and they showed resolve, and I felt like K-State felt like they were going to win the game from jump. They didn't show any fear.
Yeah, and I headed off the sidelines basically right when the team runs out. That's when I usually head up to make it to my seats before kickoff. But I was able to talk to a staff member at halftime who was on the sideline the whole entire first half.
Right.
And he was like, "Oh my goodness, it's night and day. Like, where's this energy? Like, from the first snap, they're like, these guys thought they were going to win. They're like, where was this all season long? Why did it take a number 5 program to come in to really, get your mind right?" But what I liked from that offense was it happened a handful of times. Like some of the swing passes that, just the out to the flat, basically a run play, and it's one-on-one.
Oh, man.
And the K-State guy wins.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you get 7 yards. It's like, that's what's so frustrating usually on the defense. Right. Originally from the defensive side, it's like, they just got 7 yards and then you have to try. Mm-hmm. And it's like, our offense got to do that.
Yeah.
And it was so fun to watch them just to be able to execute and play well and move the ball. And, the plays they were calling were working. Did you see it was going around Twitter either today or yesterday, and it was we pulled a backside guard.
We went to run the power.
Yeah, we looked like we were running power right.
Yeah, I saw that.
So the backside guard pulled to about the center.
Yes.
And then changed direction, went back left,
kicked
and
out.
We kind of kicked out the lefty in. And I was like, man, Coach Messinger, I've never seen that, but you've been around football a long time.
First time I've ever seen that, and the first thing I said, if you're a backer and you're reading your keys, and if your guy pull, you're taught to scrape over the top.
Oh, yeah.
And
first key you ever learned.
Exactly.
That's as easy as it comes.
And that's exactly what Oklahoma linebackers did. And it was funny, as big as the lineman was, he hid behind his buddies with the power and came back out. And I think the front side safety or the backside safety that came to field, or DN, I'm not sure what position it was, it caught him off guard because he wasn't expecting that guard to come back.
Yeah, he saw guard go away. He's like, all right, he's trying to close that gap and be ready for the kickback or the cutback. But that was
fun to watch.
Creativity, and I haven't actually had a chance to go back. Tomorrow's my day where I go back and watch the whole entire game and get to rewind in slow mo. So hopefully I'll get to see that more than once. But can you only imagine what that scraping linebacker, he could probably come to the sideline, got his butt ripped, and he's like, "Coach, they fake pulled."
Yeah. And Coach is like, "What?"
Coach is like, "No, they didn't. You didn't see it right." And so I'm sure they turned on the film. You've turned on the film before. But like, they did what?
Yeah.
And I'm still not 100% convinced. I hope that play, it could have been a mental bust. He could have been like, I thought power was called to my side.
Oh, goodness.
And then the most athletic recovery of all time. I mean, no, I don't think it was that. I definitely think that was the play call. But it's just so outside the box that it's like you've never seen that done before. And I mean, I didn't even think you could still make up new plays in football. I thought they had all been made up.
And look what happens.
And next thing you know, we're running fake power right, pulling guard, retract the steps, kick out the DN, cut back up the left side for a big gain. So, I mean, that kind of creativity is what you love to see from a staff like this. And, the players get excited about that.
They do. And I think Coach Kleiman, initially he did a great job of bringing the staff in, a lot of guys from North Dakota State, and they had a history, and they're creative. And, a lot of times people kind of question, are they able to coach and compete at this level of, Power 5, Big 12? And the guys are getting better. I think you alluded to it last time we met about how, the system is new, a lot of new players, and they're still young in the season if you look at it. But Saturday, I think for the first time, even special teams, we put it together on both sides of the ball. And you kind of talked about it earlier about our guys are beating their guys one-on-one. But the guys that were doing it are freshmen. And sophomores, and Sean, he did his thing too. But a lot of the guys that were in open space are freshmen and sophomores. And if you can't get excited about that, come on, K-State Nation, it's fun times.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There were a lot of young guys running out there. Yeah, you got to have that. You got to have that roster handy. You're like, who was that? Who was that guy? Who was that guy? So it's it was a blast to watch. The fan base was awesome. I think, obviously, a staple win for Coach Kleiman. I mean, you just got to be excited about the future. And one of the things I loved, which Coach Kleiman said in his post-game press conference, was he if I'm him speaking, he was like, guys, I told you, we're going to be a lot better at the end of the year than we are in week one. And he's like, you just got to trust us that we're going to get these guys better and get these guys, jiving with this system. And we're going to be a lot different ball team in week 10 and 11 than we are in week one. Right. And which is showing true now that we're kind of at the halfway point. I mean, that team was way better than even Mississippi State game, which they won that game sloppily. Yeah. This game was crisp.
It was, and the thing that I was joking with some of my coaching buddies, I was mad because if you didn't watch the game, it seemed a lot closer what the final score said. But I was, as a defensive player, defensive guy, when we were up 40-41, I want to say 43-20 something. Yeah,
25 was.
It was, and the game, from the naked eye, somebody who didn't watch the game, I was mad at the fact that they scored late because I wanted the nation to see how handily K-State won. And I was talking about, what impressed me, and it showed me as a staff, especially defensive guys, A.J. Parker, who was growing up. I remember last year he took his lumps, but they put him one-on-one several times on the backside with C.D. Lamb, who is arguably one of the best receivers in the nation.
Oh, yeah.
With no safety help. And I'm saying to myself, watching the game, hey, where's the safety help?
What are we doing?
For A.J. But then A.J., he showed no panic. He locked him down, and, hey, his confidence. And that just showed me right there as a staff, they trust these young guys. The staff is not going to be afraid to put them in a position to be successful and to be great. And the outcome is a win over Oklahoma.
Yeah. And I think, too, you're able to put those guys on islands when you know your defensive line is going to get there.
Yeah,
and it's not a matter of if they're going to get there. It's just a matter of how quickly.
Right.
And that's the biggest thing that's, I think, helped us K-State win that game was Hubert, Deshaun, Mitty, all those guys. They are getting to the quarterback, and even when they don't get there, that quarterback knows they're pinning their ears back, and he better. Yeah, he's just not comfortable.
He's not comfortable,
and you could tell Hurts just wasn't quite in rhythm. We got him out of sync early, and actually, you look at his stat line wasn't terrible.
No.
I mean, he didn't throw the pick. That was I don't remember which wide receiver that was. So he actually played, a pretty decent ball game. 19 for 26, 395 yards, 1 touchdown. Did give up 2 sacks. So that's really the only negative you can find. Shoot, if I'm a quarterback and I put up 400 yards passing, I'm pretty happy. So it's he didn't play terrible. It was one of those classic K-State games. We won on special teams.
Yes.
We won the turnover battle. We won the time of possession battle, which is what we both said
had to happen.
If K-State even has a prayer to be in this ball game, you got to win the time of possessions, you got to win the turnover battle, and you got to pretty much play mistake-free football, which was something we had not seen them do.
No.
This team had done some boneheaded, stupid penalties that drive you up a wall, and this game, those did not happen.
And you're absolutely correct. Another thing that stuck out, Oklahoma's known for throwing a few trick plays in there early or when they're up big. But when they went to the well, too many times when AJ got that pick the second time. But as a player, a fan, it says to me that Oklahoma didn't feel comfortable that they could just line up and physically beat us. The old-fashioned way, my guy's better than your guy. They had to use some trickery. And that right there spoke volumes to me as well and said, hey, they respect us as a team. They understand that we're a physical team, so they got to trick you. So what were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's your classic. I mean, I know that style of football is sexy, and everyone wants to play it. But in my opinion, you still have to be able to run the ball and prefer, and I guess I don't really even care if you run the ball first or run the ball second, but you have to be, if you're going to go to the pass to set up the run, that's fine. I'm cool with that offensive philosophy, but I mean, their rushing stat line, I mean, Jalen had 19 attempts for 110 yards, so again, pretty darn good day. But other than that, Trey Sermon, 3 carries, 10 yards. Kennedy Brooks, 3 carries, 6 yards. C.D. Lamb, 1 carry, 0 yards. Yeah. So take out Hurts, they had 16 yards rushing.
That's impressive.
I mean, that's domination from that defensive line. And I'm trying to think back. I can't, off the top of my head, remember if those Hurts runs were scrambles or designed run or what. So probably at least a handful of those are just him being an athlete and making plays and not really designed to run. So that's what I think, and not to compare Oklahoma to Mahomes and the Chiefs, but that's what I think the Chiefs' Achilles heel is they're still not, until you can run the ball consistently, I don't think you can win championships. Yeah, and that's where this OU team is at, is they are so fun to watch. They are so explosive. They have one of the best quarterbacks and best wide receivers in the country. But and then when they go up against Alabama, a team that can run the football, I mean,
they struggle.
They're not going to be able to win national championships. So they got to figure out a way to run the football consistently. And that's why I love what this Coach Kleiman staff is doing, is they're doing it the right way. They're not just getting a bunch of athletes in here and throwing the ball around. Not anyone, but that's a lot harder than it sounds. But that's what the temptation is nowadays, is to get really fast dudes and a good quarterback and throw the ball over the field. Yeah. But that doesn't win in November, in December, and that's what I love what this offense for the Kansas State's doing, and that's what's going to be Oklahoma's Achilles heel moving forward. I
agree. And going back to the running game, it was so good to see Brown back in the backfield. He was like a spark to the offense, and not taking away from Trotter and the other running backs. They do a good job as well. But Brown, he just brings a different style. He's a lot faster. He's physical as well. And it's one of those things where you can see the confidence in the O-line, and they get excited. And they were getting excited for blocking. The holes were massive in a lot of cases.
Man. I expected K-State's D-line to play well.
Yeah.
I did not expect K-State's O-line to play well.
They showed up and showed out. Kudos. We've been on you guys. If any O-lineman out there, kudos to you guys, because we've been on you the last couple of weeks, and you definitely stepped up to the plate. So I'm happy for you. I'm happy for the team, and kudos to you guys. So let's keep it going next week.
Yeah, Coach Riley doing a great job of getting that O-line ready. And, yeah, I'm a pretty straight shooter, and I'll criticize when criticism's due, and welcome to big-time college football. If you suck, I'll call you out. But, yeah, and I'll give praise when praise is due. And that O-line deserves all the praise in the world. Yeah, Gilbert played well. Brown played well. Thompson played well. And, yeah, I love the carries between Gilbert, Brown, and Thompson. 13 to Gilbert, 12 for Brown, 13 for Thompson. I mean, that's evenly distributing the ball. And they both put up numbers, averaging. Skyler only averaged 3 yards, but he had some big carries down there on the goal line. So, exceptional job by everyone. Big-time
win. Let me ask you this. Speaking of Skyler, some of those throws he was making Saturday. The one on the goal line, the north end zone, triple covered. He threw to 19. What's his name? Help me out. Gosh, I can't think of his name.
Who we got? Not Youngblood. Wheeler?
Yeah, is it Wheeler? I think it is Wheeler.
I'm bad with numbers.
That's okay. But he threw a strike to like the 3-yard line to Wheeler, and I was like, I don't know what Skylar had for breakfast, but do it again. He made some phenomenal throws, and he just looked so comfortable. And going back to the O-line, they gave him time to make those throws, and our receivers were getting open and beating Oklahoma D-backs one-on-one. So, those guys, everybody stepped up big time. I was very impressed.
Yeah, I was getting a little worried for Skylar just because it felt like as the game progressed, he just got more and more confident, which is good. But he was fitting it into tighter and tighter windows. And I'm just like, Skylar, there's like the window can only be so tight, and then it's called an interception.
Yeah.
So let's be a little careful. And yeah, well, that was Sammy Wheeler, 19, who that one was too. Okay. But it's Skylar, he played great. He threw the ball into I sit in that north end zone. So there was one when that ball left his hand. I mean, you know how it is when you play, like you call picks when the ball leaves the hand. You're like, oh, that's a pick.
That's a pick, yeah.
And I did that like 3 times because I got a great angle. I can kind of see things.
Right.
And I'm like, pick. And the next thing you know, like, bloop, dropped right in between like 2 inches from 3 dudes' hands, and for a touch, or for a catch, and I mean I don't remember a single drop from our receivers.
No, I had to go and watch the game to see, but I don't remember any ball that wasn't defended that was catchable. Our guys caught everything, you know. So man. Yeah,
great job all around. I think that's about as complete game as K-State's played in. I mean, not just this season, but in quite a while,
some years.
Yeah, and so I love that they're building that head of confidence heading into transition over to the
Sunflower Showdown.
Sunflower Showdown. Still brought to you by Dylan's. I don't know.
Possibly. I see the commercial. It's early in the week, so we'll see. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. See if we got to go run up to the grocery store.
Before we get into the K-State game, real quick, shout out to the student section. Shout out to the fans, because I'm in the north end zone also, and so it was one of those things where last couple of games, not last game, but the couple of games early, people were taking their time getting back from halftime, which I get it. There's lines in the bathrooms, and you want to get some food for concession. But going into halftime, leading Oklahoma, those fans were back in their seat, and that first kickoff, they were just as loud as they were from the initial kickoff. So kudos to the K-State family, to the fans for being there and showing them how it's done. We say we were the best fan experience in the Big 12, and it held true on Saturday. So kudos to the Cats and the fans.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I was right at kickoff, I was like, really, guys? This stadium's like 80% full. And then like within 2 or 3 minutes, it filled up. So like they were just getting there.
Taking their time.
11 o'clock kickoff. I get it. It's still early. So, but yeah, no, that fan base did an amazing job, and that's what it's going to take. I mean, those players feed off that. You know how it is. I mean, I love. You love playing for Rockin' House, and especially on defense when
third downs,
fourth downs, get off the field. Yeah. It's a whole lot of fun. So now, you all good?
I'm good. Now going back to the K-State KU game.
All right.
First of all, are you going to the game?
So funny story. So I was planning to go to the game. Me, my wife, and a few other couple friends.
Right.
All the dudes bailed. And then it basically turned into a girls' weekend. So my wife basically kind of told me I wasn't allowed to go to the football game. So
you'll be watching from home.
So I will be watching on the couch. I'm gonna go Friday night to watch a little high school football. Watch the brother-in-law play some playoffs, which we didn't touch on. We'll pick that up at the end of here. Go watch a little high school football Friday night, and then sit on my couch by myself, yell at the TV, and make a fool out of myself. But no one will get to see it. So
my plan is to go, depending on how I feel and depending on the weather. The older I get, the less I like the cold weather. I think it's supposed to be in the 50s, so we should be okay. But I've had fortunate luck as a player. I've never lost in Lawrence, and as a fan, we never lost in Lawrence. So I want to keep that rolling. So that's the plan to go. I'm excited. As much as I am a K-State guy, I watched the Texas Tech and KU game, and I have a good buddy of mine, kind of an inside story. Emmett Jones, he was a high school teammate of mine back in Dallas, and he's been on Texas Tech staff for years. And when this past season, when the coach got fired, and he's now the head coach, Kingsbury's the head coach of Arizona, my buddy Emmett got hired on at KU with Les Miles, so he called me up and let me know that he's on staff, and he understands the rivalry, but, I always want to see Bud Ismine do well, but he understands this weekend, it's all out. K-State Purple, die hard, so it should be interesting. But KU is getting better with their offensive coordinator. That guy, he put them in some positions, and basically the quarterback plays fearless. I'm not sold that they're this offensive juggernaut yet, because Texas Tech secondary is not very good. And neither is Texas. Don't get me wrong. They put up some points against Texas, but if you follow football, Texas, they're missing 3 starting D-backs in that secondary. So those numbers can be kind of deceiving, not taking away from KU at all, but they haven't arrived yet, and not in my eyes. And we'll see. And I think it'll be a good test for our guys as well. And I don't think they've seen the defensive line like ours either in the last 2 weeks. So I think it'll be interesting, and I think Coach Kleiman understands the significance of this game. And with that being said, with the win in Lawrence, that makes us bowl eligible. So that'll be super sweet to go into Lawrence, beat KU, and become bowl eligible all in the same weekend.
Yeah, and this is a team that I'm sure the team thought it, but this is the national media, predicted K-State to win 4 games. And so we're barely halfway through the season, and they're fighting for bowl eligibility, which would be awesome. And I'm with you. I never lost in Lawrence. I'm a Kansas kid. I don't think I would. I think I would have walked off the field with like 2 minutes left in the game and been like, "Oh nope, I got disqualified. I wasn't a part of this one." But yeah, everything you mentioned, and that Texas Tech game was. Which first off, the ending of the Texas Tech game was just hilarious.
How I don't have. My youngest son and I were watching it, and he said it for me. He's 11 years old, and he goes, "Dad, how dumb was that?" I'm like, "You took the words out of my mouth."
Yeah.
What was that guy thinking?
I don't know. I guess if the only rational argument I can think, if I were that guy, was he thought the clock had expired, and so there were 0 seconds left, and he had to keep the ball alive for his guys to go down.
Yeah.
But still, you just fall on it, buddy.
Take a knee.
Just fall on.
Yeah, fall down. And don't try to be the hero.
Yeah, don't be the hero, because then obviously change of possession, so that restarts the downs. Now it's KU ball, first down, and
short field goal.
Yeah, 30. I was like 30-something, 35 yards. It wasn't terrible, but going back to what you said about the new OC, Brett Dearman. He's a good young mind.
He is,
and it sounds like this offense, this KU offense has rallied around him, and sometimes that's what you need in a program. You just need. I don't know. You just need a little change, a little fresh ideas.
He's a spark for him.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where I've watched a couple of their games, and he has done a tremendous job of getting several of their playmakers involved with the ball game. Normally Puka Williams was kind of the focal point, and everybody knew what you get with him, and he's a dynamic player, and I respect the young man to the utmost as a player. But
shoot, we're going to shut him down. His stat line was garbage this week.
I hope you're right.
Yeah,
but
I'm not scared of Puka. I'm scared of Carter Stanley.
Yeah, and going back to Stanley, he hasn't. He's done a good job of getting the ball out quick, but he hasn't had pressure in his face like the pressure that K-State can bring if we are on our A game. And I'm curious to find out how he will respond to that, because, taking nothing away from Tech and Texas, but their D-line is nowhere near as aggressive as K-State. And plus, I would take our coaching staff over KU coaching staff any day. And I'm not just being biased because I bleed purple, but it's just facts. The way they prepare, the changes they've made, the problems they pose, and the kids that we have. I like us in this game, even if it's on the road, and even with a KU team coming off a win. Yeah,
and I think what was the stat? I think it's 4. I think it opened up at 4, maybe.
Yeah, you might be right.
Yeah, it's right around that. I think it's moved a half point or a point either way. So, which if I'm K-State, I feel a little disrespected by it, being a 4-point favorite. But yeah, this team, and that's what all the preseason talk we talked about. We thought this defensive line for K-State was going to be the strong point. And it's turned out to be better than I expected, just being honest. And I think that's what's going to give this KU team fits is, it's easy to throw the ball, get the ball out of your hand quick, and let athletes be athletes and do some of the put a decent offensive performance out on the field when the defensive line's not great. But when that defensive line is good, man, it just makes it 1,000 times harder. You're running for your life. You can't run the ball. Which means play action doesn't work. So that defensive line is so pivotal for this K-State team, and they're the one unit that showed up every single game. I don't recall a single game where it's like, D-line didn't play great. No, like offensive line we were talking about, they've had some ups and downs. Wide receivers couldn't get open against earlier on in the season, early on in conference play. Tackling was terrible, which has been secondary and linebackers mainly. But that D-line has showed up every single game, and they've stayed relatively healthy. And so, or they're all healthy now, which is a good thing. So I think that D-line's going to do really well against this KU offensive line, and I think that's going to cause fits for that KU offense. And I don't see them putting up 21 points.
No, if they get 21 points, it's because we're scoring at will and we're scoring fairly fast, which I can see that happening because I know one of their starting safeties is out for the first half of our game because he got ejected for targeting.
Yeah, I saw that.
So he'll miss the first half of our game. And then also their defense is not very disciplined. They got a couple of kids that like to come up and hit, but outside of that, you can get them in bad positions and they make terrible decisions. And going back to our defense, I think our linebackers are made for a team like KU because we're not the biggest set of linebackers, but those guys can move like safeties and they get to the ball with bad intentions. Now, the one downfall I will say about our linebackers, they do have tendencies to tackle with their shoulders and not bring their arms and not finish the play. But last week was a better game. And speaking of that, prayers go out to my guy, E.G., Eric Gallant Jr. I know that was pretty bad injury, and hopefully everything went well with him, and he has a speedy recovery.
Has anything come out on that? I mean, we don't need to break anything. No, if it's public knowledge.
I haven't seen anything.
Yeah, me neither.
But I didn't know when he was carted off. Prayers go out to him and his family and his father and mother as well. And hopefully, like I said, everything goes smoothly and it's a speedy recovery, whatever it was. But I think our linebackers are definitely built for a team like KU because Puka, as good as he is, he's not a power back. He wants to use the speed to get he gets inside and bounces it, but our backers run well with anybody. So I think we're going to be okay.
Yeah, I think we match up pretty well with this team. Going back, you mentioned the KU safety that got ejected, which is I wanted to touch on going backwards real quick, which I know this is not ideal chronological order, but going back to that Elijah Sullivan hit in the OU game where they threw the flag, targeting, I had an amazing angle on it, and I was like, that's the worst call in the history of America. And then they reviewed it, they pulled it. But imagine if he would have been ejected. I don't think we win that game.
No, because he was playing lights out.
He played amazing.
He did, and I'm with you. I saw the tackle too, and I was like, that's what you want. He led with a shoulder pad. He turned his head away from the ball, from Hurts, to avoid helmet to helmet, and then led with a shoulder pad. I said, that's textbook what you teach your guys to do to protect themselves and to protect the other player that they're tackling. And so I'm not sure if the ref felt like he had to because it was a quarterback or what, but I'm glad they got it right by not calling it targeting on any level. So, yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I was happy they got it right. And I mean, that's got to be. I mean, he was 1 yard short of the first down. Yeah. Like if he doesn't, and I think he still got it, but it's like, what do you want him to do? Like not like he's already tackled.
Yeah.
But like if he hits him backwards, then he doesn't get a first down.
Exactly.
So it's I'm glad they got that call right. And I guess at the end of the day, you can always review it. If you don't throw the flag, then you can't review it, or then you can't go back. So I was not to discombobble or chronological order, but I'm glad we brought that up because I truly believe if he gets ejected, we do not win that ball game. He was that important to that defense.
Different ball game.
So going fast forward now to KU again. So I mean, I think we both feel pretty confident that K-State matches up relatively pretty well with this team. I mean, I'm with you. I take our coaching staff over Les Miles' staff any day of the week, and twice on Sundays. And so I'm just not. I think almost KU beating Texas Tech might help us a little bit. I mean, they might feel a little more confident, and I think that'll help K-State players as well to not take this team for granted, which I don't think they would have. But them beating Texas Tech is like, all right, this isn't the 0-whatever KU team of the past. Mm-hmm. This is a possibly 500 KU team, which is still a team you should beat. Yeah. But you at least got to show up. Because I remember I played some games against KU. I mean, we could have sleptwalked through it and still beat them by 21 points. Where this team is at least good enough where you got to show up.
No, I'm with you. And like you said, they're rallying around the new OC, and although the crowd wasn't significant like it should be at a Big 12 conference game against a formidable opponent, I know next Saturday the stadium will probably be packed, and it's going to be a lot of purple there.
There'll be a lot of purple. I know a lot of people going.
Exactly, but I know they're Division I players, they're scholarship players, and they have pride just like we do, and they don't want to get embarrassed again by their in-state rival, and they're going to give K-State all they can handle the first half. Now, K-State has to weather the storm and out-physical them, be smarter, and continue to do what we do, and I think we will. And eventually, they don't have the depth or the talent to compete with us with 4 quarters. And I think eventually we're going to get to the point where we break their will, and special teams will be a key factor, and our speed and our scheme will definitely take over the game late, and we should win comfortable, at least by 2 touchdowns, if not more.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
If I were setting up, I'd take 14 or more.
Yeah, so
I think like upper 30s to mid-teens, somewhere around there.
And the weather's supposed to be mid-50s, I believe.
Yeah, we'll take it.
And it's
I'll take that for late October football.
Yeah, and like I said, we have more. I think we have more motivation than they do. From what I saw, I think we're ranked in the polls again, which I don't know if that's a curse or a blessing.
Yeah,
we're 25-1 and 23 in the other. I want to say
25 in USA Today, and 23 in the AP. So
and honestly, I wish we could stay unranked so we can stay on the radar and stay the underdogs. But
I don't want people talking about us.
But when you beat the number 5 team like we did, you're going to get some love and you're going to get some votes no matter what.
Yeah.
And it's part of the game. But I think, and like going back to the KU win over Texas Tech, it's a resume builder for us to a certain extent because they did beat a quality team, albeit at home. It helps us because it's not like we just beat up on a KU team that had 2 wins or 3 wins. Now they got 4 wins, I believe. And, when we beat them, hopefully, it'll be better for us. And that Boston College win for them on the road is looking better because they beat a formidable ACC team on the road. So, hey, I want the win. I want the bowl eligibility. I want us to come back to Manhattan, refocus, and keep our eyes on what's ahead of us because, looking at our schedule, before we play OU, I was hoping just to get bowl eligible. Now that we beat OU, I'm looking at a possible 8, maybe 9-win season. We got a Texas team that's down. Ellinger didn't look good at all this past weekend. And West Virginia, they're a good team, but very beatable. Iowa State,
no, they're not a good team.
They're okay. They're okay, but they're still D1. Right?
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. You got to show up. I think we'll be favored in that game. But I know what you're saying.
And then Iowa State, we got Iowa State here, and you think about the game how we lost to Iowa State last year in Ames. Very close game, but they're not the Iowa State that everybody thought they would be at the beginning of the season. They got beat by Oklahoma State at home, and Purdy, who is a stud quarterback, he looked average Saturday.
Yeah, Iowa State's probably one of my bigger disappointments of the year.
Yeah. So that's 3 games right there that we could win, and that would put us at 9 wins.
Shoot, I know. Yeah, and that's what, looking back at the Baylor loss, it's like, well, shoot, that's not that bad of a loss.
Because Baylor's undefeated and number 1 in Big 12
I think
now.
I think, honestly, that's what leapt us into that top 25.
Yeah.
It's our only, quote-unquote, bad loss is Oklahoma State, which isn't a terrible loss.
No.
And Baylor, they're 7-0, 8-0, whatever we're at now.
And Baylor's a scary good team, man.
I know. And they're going to give Oklahoma fits.
So
we'll see. And I do have audio evidence from an earlier preseason show I did, and my official prediction was 8-4, and I got laughed at.
Wow!
And so, I looked at the schedule, and I mean, honestly, I had us not losing and winning the teams that happened, but I was like, well, we beat these teams last year, and I think we're better than we were last year.
Yeah.
And so I think I just losing to like Mississippi State, OU. I just losing to Mississippi State, OU, Texas, and Iowa State.
Yeah.
And so we're going to, be change things around a little bit. Baylor, Oklahoma State, and that's where we're at right now.
And here's what I'm at. I'm like, hey, why can't we win out?
Shoot.
Seriously, why not us?
Yeah.
Why can't we win out?
I know. Stay healthy. We got a chance.
Yeah, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. Let's focus back on KU because, it's exciting when you beat OU at home. Homecoming, it was a great environment, great win. Weather was amazing. It was a good weekend altogether, but let's refocus on KU. But I'm excited about the game. My plan is to go. If not, I'll be just like you at home by myself in a room, locked up, because I don't like watching games with other people around me.
Neither.
It's just not my thing. I don't like it. I love my family. I love people around me, but I don't want to be bothered when cats are on. So
same here.
We'll see.
Well, that'll wrap it up for this segment. Monty and I are going to get good Kansas native Braden Wilson on the line here. So right after we get him on the line, we will be back and talk a little bit to Braden about what he thought about the OU game, and then also as a Kansas kid, kind of the KU rivalry and all the fun stuff that goes with that. So be right back.
The Tannahill and Spiller Powercat Podcast is sponsored by Fridge Wholesale Liquor. The Fridge is your source for all of your tailgate and party needs. The Powercat Podcast will be right back.
Diets and workouts, you've done the work, so why can't you get to your goal weight? That's because up to 70% of your weight is predetermined by your genetics. So while you've been told that it's all about your willpower, you're actually fighting your biology. Don't do it alone. Found's doctor-designed program uses medication as part of a treatment plan that targets your body's unique biological needs, so that your body works with you and not against you. Take the quiz at joinfound.com to see if Found's weight loss program is right for you.
If you're in the market for investment-worthy bags, watches, and fine jewelry, Rebag is the answer. Rebag is a luxury resale marketplace where each piece is carefully vetted and verified by experts to ensure quality and authenticity. If you're in the market, use Rebag to buy and sell finds from the world's top brands, including Hermes, Chanel, and Cartier. Head to Rebag.com to get 10% off your first purchase with code REBAG10. Shop today at Rebag.com. That's REBAG.com. And use promo code REBAG10 for 10% off your first purchase.
And now we return to the Tannahill and Spiller Powercat Podcast, sponsored by Fridge Wholesale Liquor.
All right, we're back. We got Braden Wilson on the line. Braden, how you been, buddy? Doing all right?
I've been doing well, Mr. Tannahill. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, thanks for joining us this evening. First off, what the heck are you up to? Although I know we got to have lunch together like 3 weeks ago, so I got to catch up with you.
Up a little bit.
But let's let our listeners catch up. What you been up to? Where you at? Where you working? Kind of what's life up to nowadays that you're done with the pads on?
Yeah, absolutely. For the last several years, I've been living in the Kansas City area. So as of right now, I'm living in Mission, Kansas. So about a 10 to 15 minute drive from downtown Kansas City. I am working for Edward Jones doing financial planning, and I've got an office of my own in Lansing, Kansas. So I've got about a 30-minute drive every day.
Okay.
Fun.
As of this, absolutely. As of this February, I will be 3 years in with Edward Jones. So I guess that's what I'm up to now.
Awesome, fun. You enjoying Kansas City? I know you Smith Center guys. That's a bit of a different beast there. You surviving in my hometown?
Yeah, I am. I'm getting through. I'm making it through day by day. No, I really like Kansas City. I think it's a pretty neat town.
Yeah, it was a good place. I enjoyed growing up there. So, hey, let's jump into KU real quick. First off, were you at the game? Did you catch the game? Or excuse me, Oklahoma. My
Oklahoma?
bad. Yeah, OU game. Did you catch the game? Were you at it?
I watched it. Okay. I watched the game. Was not at the game, though. Looking back now, I wish I would have made the trek. Phenomenal game to watch. It just amazing. Just made my whole weekend.
Right. So, hey, let me ask you this: being a former fullback and with the new coaching staff and everything, what are your thoughts on how Coach Kleiman and his staff were manipulating? putting fullbacks, tight ends all together and so much of the play calling and all the plays that they get. What's your thoughts on that, and how much would you love to play in this current offense?
Man, that offense is a fullback's dream.
Man.
I love what he's doing. It's my style of ball. I would have, not to take anything away from the time that Travis and I had, but I would have loved to have played in that system. Absolutely.
Right. So tell me this. I know Trav and I talked about it earlier, how the O-line has struggled a little bit early in the year, but Saturday, they really took off and, took it to Oklahoma. What were your thoughts about the offensive line? What were your thoughts? What were you thinking while you watched the game? What were your thoughts?
Do you know what? I made that observation for the defensive line as well. We just did a really good job of controlling the line up front on both sides of the ball, and the score reflects that. But as to what my thoughts are for that, I was pleasantly surprised. I was impressed. I hope they keep that going.
Right.
Yeah, that's earlier on in the show, Monte and I. That's basically was our number one conclusion. Was our D-line and our offensive line played. Our D-line's played well all year, but our offensive line stepped it up and really did a nice job. Do you recall? I mean, obviously you're a Smith Center kid, small town football. You guys pounded up on anyone and everyone you ever played. Won like 1,000 games. You were like 1,000-0 in your career, and they wrote a book about you guys. I mean, do you remember the first time you went up against like an OU or a Nebraska, and kind of just coming from a small town and going up against that big brand and that big logo, and kind of the effect that had on you, if any?
Yeah, I do. I'm trying to remember what it was because, this Trav, I played all 4 years. So my freshman season, I want to say Oklahoma might have been our fifth game in.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
I could be wrong about that. Yeah, roughly fifth game in. And I remember, I remember going out to my first game my freshman season a little rattled. Just had to adjust to playing in front of 40,000+ people as opposed to 800.
Hey, that's pretty good.
But I remember
high school crowd.
It's not bad. But I do remember, I shook that for the next couple of games until we played at Oklahoma, and like I said, I think there was a fifth game in, and I had the exact same issue. It's a whole different animal coming from that. I would just say high school in general, but especially when you come from a small 2A high school in western Kansas. It's a different adjustment. It's an adjustment that you make, but it's that first 20 minutes of it. It was hard to explain.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I remember first time playing Nebraska, I was like, oh my goodness, this is like, I grew up a Nebraska fan, so I was like in heaven, but I was playing them. And then you and I both had to block Ndamukong Suh, and it sucked.
It didn't go well.
Not fair.
It did not go well.
Taylor Martinez ran like 500 yards against us, and just
that was our sophomore year. Yeah. Ran forever.
So let me ask you this: I'm from Dallas originally, but my wife, she's a Plainville girl, so she hates Smith Center.
Oh, yeah, of course she does.
Yeah, she hates. Whenever a couple of weeks ago, I ran into Mark, and Mark and I were talking Seminole, and she is joking, but she goes, "I'm going to go over here and stand in the corner. I don't want to be by Smith Center, folks." But she was joking. She came back and talked to Mark. But no, growing up in Western Kansas, Smith Center has so much respect throughout the state, and I know Coach Barter, Brooks, and a couple other guys that I've had the opportunity to coach with and coach against. But it's one of those things where I know Smith Center has a pride about their high school football. Being in eastern Kansas now, in the Kansas City area, is the pride, the K-State pride, is it similar there that in the East Coast, in the east part of the state, like it is in the Midwest, closer to Manhattan, and when you run into K-Staters as well, what's the environment like? And I guess what's the environment like now for K-State football in the Kansas City area?
In the Kansas City area, it's right now. I mean, I would say in regard to kind of the vibe that you're getting from K-State fans. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. You know, with the coaching change, I think everybody was kind of sad to see Coach Snyder go.
Right.
But everybody kind of knew, life is what it is. That time was inevitable, at some point or another. And so I would say for the most part, there is a lot of excitement about the new guy. And I know I've been a big fan of his from the time we brought him on.
Good.
And I've been pretty happy in watching these guys. We've got 2 losses, but I mean, realistically, you're going to have those. You're going to have that.
Oh, yeah. It's the Big 12. It's the Big 12. You're going to take a loss or two, kind of like Oklahoma did Saturday.
Yep.
Exactly, yep.
Let me ask you this. I never know. I know Trav said that he grew up a Nebraska fan. Being a Kansas kid, prior to you committing with K-State, did you grow up a KU or a K-State fan?
I was one of the fortunate group. I grew up a K-State fan. My dad went to college at K-State.
Okay.
So I actually was a K-State fan.
Good deal. Now talking about that, give me your thoughts on this coming Saturday, the Sunflower Showdown.
Oh, well, so I myself, I'm in a house divided here. My significant other ran track over at KU. So
you never get that part. I knew you were dating a girl. I didn't know she was part of the evil side.
She went to school over on the dark side. So we've been kind of jawing back and forth at each other about that, and it's kind of the typical. Every year you've got that. It's the in-state rivalry. I will say though, I'll give them a little credit. The last couple of games, they've been looking pretty solid.
Yeah.
I'll be looking forward to watching that.
Yeah, that's me and Monty were talking earlier, and I mean, I know I'm not trying to speak for you, Braden, but I know when we played, I mean, sometimes I'd get up to the line of scrimmage, and we'd have like 2 extra blockers. I'd be like, well, I got no one to block, and Braden's behind me, and he's got no one to block. So this play is going to go for like 30 yards. And like they would just line up in the stupidest defenses. Yeah. Like they were just not well coached, not where they were supposed to be. And I was like, I don't know who I'm supposed to block, so I guess I'll just down the field kind of. And so, but yeah, this team is much better coached, much better prepared. And honestly, I'd like to get your opinion on this too, Braden. I mean, I'm a little I for the state of Kansas and high school football and just state of football in Kansas overall, I would like this rivalry to become a little more competitive. I mean, I want K-State to win, but I want it to be at least a ball game for most of the ball games. So, do you agree with that? Do you think it's good for Kansas football for this rivalry to maybe get a new spark in it?
So this is what I'll say, and I've had this conversation a couple of times just during this fall. I would actually, obviously I want our Cats to beat the Hawks every single time we play them, but to what you were just saying, I kind of like both schools putting the state on the map to where I would actually like to see KU have, a solid season year in, year out. Just like you said, to kind of, I guess, what am I trying to say? Make it more of a rivalry game, more of a legitimate rivalry game that we could bring some attention to.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree.
If that makes sense.
It's kind of like K-State beats up on them in football, and they beat up on us in basketball more times than not, and like that's the rivalry.
Yeah.
We're rivals, but we're both good at different sports, so we both get to win at different times of the year. But yeah, no, I'm with you on that. Now, too, obviously, we've seen the recruiting battle that Les Miles has done a pretty good job on the recruiting trail. Coach Kleiman's done probably a better job than that Snyder staff had done. Still probably not where anyone wants it to be.
Yeah.
But were you, Braden? Were you recruited by KU at all?
Yeah, I was.
Okay, and so you know how important that battle is for especially these in-state kids. And honestly, winning this game matters so much for what those kids choose.
It really does, honestly, because I myself, and I probably shouldn't admit this, but I'm going to go ahead and do it. When Travis, when we were seniors in high school, that's when we were getting recruited by these schools, and that's when KU went to the Orange Bowl, and K-State season was looking a little bit rough at that point. I'm not gonna act like I didn't entertain it. You know?
Yeah, no, I feel. I mean, at the end of the day, you got to do what's best for you and your family,
right.
and so I don't ever blame a kid for going anywhere.
Right.
Exactly. So to answer your question, yes, I would agree with that. This game, not that it's the only thing that a kid's going to make the decision on, but it does help.
Yeah. Do you ever? This is the one thing. I've gotten a little bit of flack on this from telling other players this, but I mean, I absolutely despise most KU fans. Like, not the person themselves, because some of my best friends.
Oh, they're better than Missouri fans.
Yes, some of my best friends are KU fans, so I can love that person. I just dislike a very slight sliver of that person's personality. But I almost even, like, when KU wins, like, I almost feel happy for those kids, even though I don't like the program. But, like, those guys are working just as hard as anyone else. They deserve to have, you know, how physical and painful and, like, just how hard football is. And I'm like, you know what? Good for those guys. They deserve a little bit of happiness and a little bit of joy to get a win, because they work just as hard as anyone. So I'm with you. I'm excited to see them have a little bit of success this year.
Yeah.
But their fans are terrible still.
Their fans can be tough. KU fans can be tough.
Yes, they can.
Well, and if it makes you feel any better, I know you said you entertained KU for a second. I'm not going to say I entertained them, but a quick story now, and we'll let you go. I know as a high school senior for me back in '93, probably way before you guys even thought about college, made me feel old. Glenn Mason was the head coach at KU at the time, and they had a pretty good team. They had Dennis Stubblefield and a couple other guys that were quality players, and I think they went to the Aloha Bowl that year as well and played Cal, and I want to say beat Cal maybe, but KU was the first school that actually offered me college football scholarship, and Glenn Mason was the head coach, and Coach Warner was the quarterbacks coach. He recruited the Dallas area, but they were actually the first school to recruit me and to offer, and K-State was the last school to offer me. So
really?
Yeah, it was kind of ironic how that worked out, and I actually took a recruiting trip to Lawrence because, hey, you know, you're a freshman in high school, and I mean, you're a senior high school, apologize, and you're getting recruiting visits, and Lawrence was a cool town, but I got the vibe right away that it was definitely a basketball school, and me coming from Texas, I'm all about the football, and as much as yeah, exactly. I was honored, but I said, nah, it ain't for me. So, but it's kind of ironic. It is, you know, the Sunflower Showdown week, and KU was the first school to offer, and K-State was the last school to offer, and obviously I went with K-State. So it's kind of funny how that worked out.
Hey, man, it all worked out for you.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, that's one thing I think about, Braden. What if we would have gone to KU? We would have won like 2 games our whole career. Like, that would have been – you wouldn't have made it. I mean, you didn't lose 2 games your whole life before college. So you would not have made it at KU.
How I would have handled that.
Yeah, no kidding. But, hey, we'll let you go. Real quick, I was talking to my brother-in-law today, actually my father-in-law, and Hillsboro and Smith Center, I think they're both 1A now or 2A now, but playoffs got released this weekend. And first thing my father-in-law did was he found Smith Center, and you hope they're just as far away from you on the bracket as possible. Because I was like, where's Smith Center? And he was like, oh, they're right there. Because he's like, yeah, you don't want to play them because no matter what, that's when your playoffs. That's when your playoffs end.
That's when playoffs end.
That's when your playoffs end. So you just
funny.
hope to be as far away from them as possible on the bracket, and hopefully meet them in the state championship game. So
Coach Sass out here has gotten them back on track.
Yep,
and they're doing really well.
They still got that reputation. So, hey, hit us up next time you're in town for a game. I know you've never met Monte in person, but he's a good dude. So we'll have to get together before or after a game. And thanks for joining us. And Cats over Chicken Hogs next week.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
All right. Thanks again, Braden, for joining us. Braden's just a good dude, one of the toughest guys I've ever met. I mean, I know Colin got a lot of praise for being tough that senior year just because he always had blood all over his uniform, and he is as tough as they come too. But man, Braden, I mean, talk about physical.
I enjoyed watching him play. Yeah. He was a true, fullback. A lot of people don't know Rod Schiller, but he reminded me a lot of Rod Schiller back in the day for K-State. But the guy was a bruiser, and he did what was asked of him, and I love watching him play. So, on.
He was fun to play with, and I'm glad I was on I'm glad I was on the same side of the ball as him. Every once in a while, like a special teams drill, we'd get lined up against each other, and I'd be like, man, I do not like button heads against you.
Headache.
And he could bring it every single play. Just one of those guys, great motor, as strong as they come, and just a good dude. One of my best friends in my wedding, all the above. As you know, you got those best friends that you'll carry with you for the rest of your life, and love to see him having success over there in Kansas City. So, that being said, any last thoughts before we wrap this up, Monty?
Well, hopefully this time next week we'll be bowl eligible, celebrating a victory over the Chicken Hawks, and all is well in Manhappiness, Kansas.
Bowl eligible, man. That sounds good.
Sounds good.
I would be so thrilled for the staff to be able to get bowl eligible this early in the year.
Yes.
And then you're just focusing on how many wins can you rack up.
There you go.
And I'm just so excited for everyone in this program right now. I think we're on an upward trajectory.
Yep.
I think the newness is going over well, and the players are buying in, and hopefully it's paying off on the recruiting trail for Taylor Bratt, and this thing's just going to keep skyrocketing.
I think it will.
Until next time, everybody, enjoy your week. Cheer loud. Find a way into Memorial Stadium over there in Lawrence, and pack that baby with purple. Go Cats.
Go Cats.
You've been listening to the Tannahill and Spiller Powercat Podcast, presented by Fridge Wholesale Liquor. Powercat Podcast. All rights reserved. GoPowercat.com and Spirit Street Publishing.
With Blue Link Plus, you can access your Hyundai Tucson Limited remotely. Doors unlocked, temperature set, lost car found.
There it is.
Get complimentary class-leading Blue Link Plus. Call 562-314-4603 for complete details.